This is Startup Bright. I'm Nick Kolev. This is the time and place we interview startup founders and we provide a platform for them to present their companies. Our guest today is Dan Wiesel, and he will present his startup, Pet Airways. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Nick. Thanks for having me on your program. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss our fantastic company with you. As a background, I'm a pet owner, pet lover, and the idea came to us several years ago when we were trying to fly our pet Zoe across country. We had bought a house in Florida. We were living in California, and we wanted to take her, and we put her on a plane. But unfortunately, on the airlines, there's a size limit or a weight limit for carrying pets in the main cabin. So our pet Zoe had to be put into cargo, and it was a really stressful thing for my wife, Alysa, and myself. Once we gave her over to the cargo department at the airline, we had no idea where she was, how she was doing. We didn't even know if she was on the plane. Later on, we came to learn that the cargo hold is a very dangerous place for pets. Most pet parents know about this. The air circulation is minimal. It's dark. It can get very hot on the tarmac, up to maybe 135 degrees in the cargo hold. And up at altitude, the cargo can come down to about minus 45 degrees. So there's huge variations in temperature. It's dark. There are scary noises in there. So the pets can get very, very frightened and very stressed out. Unfortunately, many pets do exhibit mental issues, and unfortunately, many pets die in cargo. You won't hear about it too much because the airlines bury all that information. So those are the problems with the cargo. So I looked at that and I said, there's got to be a better way to do this. There has to be some way that the pet parent population can transport their pets across the country. And make sure their pets are safe and comfortable. And so after a lot of research, I created Pet Airways. In Pet Airways, pets fly in the main cabin of our planes, not in the cargo hold. We refer to our pets as pawsengers. They are not baggage. And up in the main cabin, we have a pet attendant on board sitting right next to the pilot, whose job is to make sure the pets are okay during the travel time. Of course, the cabin is climate controlled. It's fully lit so the pets can look around and see what's going on. And we make sure there's lots of cool, fresh air for them to breathe. Fresh, cool air is a really important thing for pets under stress. We launched originally in 2009 during the Great Recession. Not the best time to launch a new company. But we received a huge response. The pet world was lit on fire. We had over 5,000 insertions in different parts of media, web, media, paper, print, magazines, newsreels. It was so overwhelming that when people went to our website, they crashed our website. We had to get a big server to handle all the interest in our company. So it went really well. We had tremendous worldwide publicity, as I mentioned, and we were doing very, very well operationally. Along the way, we needed to bring in some more money to keep building. And to do that, we ended up taking the company public. These were tough times, with the recession and everything like that. And we unfortunately could not get the investment capital that we needed, and we had to shut down operations. That was very unfortunate. People loved us. We're very upset that we had to close, but they really believed in us. We had a great following. To this day, we have 55,000 Facebook followers, and we're not even posting on Facebook. So we never gave up on the idea. We really loved it, but we thought, well, how do we make this work so that we can be really profitable? And so we had lots of companies that wanted to partner with us. Pet companies like Doxil that makes the pet carriers. 1-800-PET-MEDS was working with us. Petco was talking to us. So a lot of different companies wanted to work with us, but more so, the airlines wanted to work with us. Two of our advisors, who were actually three of our advisors, who were senior level airline officials, had told us, Dan, get this thing up and running, get to all the cities we need to get to, and the airlines are going to give you all the business. Airlines don't want the pet business. It's a non-starter for them. It's a downhill battle. It's terrible for them. So they will give us the business and they'll partner with us. So with that in mind, we looked around and said, well, what do we learn from this experience? And what we did learn was that we needed to fly our own airplanes. In version 1, we chartered the planes. We had a company that was flying the planes for us, and they were making about 40% overhead on the flights. So that was a really tough hurdle to overcome. So we said, you know what, we need to fly our own airplanes, and that 40% goes straight to the bottom line. So in the interim, we went to the FAA and we applied for our own what's called a air carrier certificate. These are not easy to come by. They take 5 to 7, sometimes 10 years for the FAA to get around to taking care of that. And 2 years ago, we managed to actually get the certificate after a long work with the FAA. We learned that was the key part. We also learned that there's huge efficiencies in the hub and spoke system for us to work with. We were previously doing a sort of a bus route from California to New York and then back to California. We said that we need to have a hub where the planes fly in, sort of like the FedEx model. Packages fly in, the packages fly out. So we learned that. And the last thing we learned that was very important was that the price that people would pay to move their pets didn't matter. Very inelastic. When people want to fly cross country, get their pets cross country, they'll pay anything, just like with kids. So we learned those 3 major lessons. We feel that the businesses can be extremely profitable once we get all the infrastructure in place. So now we're coming back to the investment community. We're ready to relaunch the airline. We're asking for a $5 million investment to get it going. And once we get going, we know this will be a great solution to a very large problem for pet parents, and that's having their pets fly safely and comfortably across the country. Back to you, Nick.
Thank you very much, Dan. Wow, what a journey, I would say, starting from an idea, taking it to public, and then you have to rewind the whole effort and everything that you did. I'm glad that you continue to work on your idea, because frankly, we just got a new dog. We're pet parents.
There you go.
And while you were doing this explanation in your pitch, I was thinking about we're new at this. We never had to go to the airport or think about or even plan our travel now that we have a pet. But this would be a real issue for me to think about, our little dog being into the cargo with temperatures that are frankly close to outer space temperatures. So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this is I like the idea. I like what you do. And Dan, you were introduced by our friend Jack Torobin. Dr. Jack Torobin works with us with our events. He presents and he sits on a panel with investors at our events, and he finds a way to discover interesting startups and present them to us. So I want to ask you, you explained how you came up with this idea, but I would like to know, what is your team? Are you working with other people, and what kind of skills do you need to have to join your team?
So we have a gentleman by the name of David that's been with us been with me for about 30 years, actually. He's a technologist. He understands the internet. He understands security and all those different things. And he's really the technologist behind setting up a website, setting up a server, setting up all the software that we need to build this. In fact, what I should tell you is that we actually developed our own proprietary software specifically for Pet Airways. There's nothing off the shelf that you can get that you can buy. You can buy packages for, charter airlines and things like that, but we needed something special where we could input information about the pet, their doctor, any allergies, who's responsible for the pet, things like that. So we actually built our own reservation system, and we were helped by another one of our team members. He goes by the name of Doc. He is a former revenue manager for several different airlines. So he was in charge of making sure that the revenue per flight was maximized. And if you know, when you go to online and you try to book a ticket, if you book it one day, there's one price, the next day there's another price, and all those algorithms are built into the programming so that they can maximize the revenue. So Doc and David work together with our software programmers to build this proprietary reservation system. So we have Doc, we have David, we have Dr. Jeff Werber. Dr. Jeff Werber is our veterinarian. He advises us on different things with relationship to the pets. He is an Emmy Award-winning vet out of Los Angeles, and you can look him up under, I think it's drjeff.com. Really a wonderful guy, so we have him. In addition to that, my wife, Alysa, is an absolute incredible person when it comes to marketing. She handled the marketing last time with Pet Airways. She and I both come out of Silicon Valley, so we know a lot of people in marketing. And we launched the whole company, and the whole run of the company, we spent $0 on marketing because we just knew how to do guerrilla marketing. So we have her taking care of that. On our advisory panel, I have another gentleman who is an advisor to many airlines. He's currently with some airline for the East. And he's brilliant about how airlines work. And so he has very long tentacles in the airline business. So that's basically our background. Me, I'm your typical entrepreneur, come up with an idea, research it, and build it.
Yeah, I can see that you guys are well positioned. You have covered all the aspects of building a startup, not just an idea or just being a technologist or just a marketer or financial guy. You very much your team covers everything that you need. Nowadays you have to be you have to wear a lot of hats, right? So you have to understand technology, you have to understand marketing, you have to at least know the basics of finance and how can you manage your finances.
Right.
And in your case, obviously, you have to know FAA regulations and things like that, which brings my next question. Did you experience, or did you have to take anything or do anything special to get again into the process of creating your company? Can I, like, if I want to build something like that, what are the steps that I need to take?
Well, the most important thing is to get what's called an air carrier certificate from the FAA. All the airlines are beholden to the FAA. The FAA gives them the license to fly their aircraft, but not only do they give them a license, they also manage the airlines. So it's a very onerous, very difficult process working with the FAA. A typical new certificate like the one that we have just achieved takes about 5 to 7 years to process. And in that time, you have to fill out a huge amount of paperwork for the FAA, and then you have to demonstrate to them about your aircraft and what you're flying. So you have to have an airplane, you have to have a good understanding of the entire flight concepts with regard to aircraft and airports and things like that. So I happen to be a private pilot, so I understand a lot of the things that need to be done. And so when I work with the FAA, they appreciate the fact that I am a private pilot and I understand the difficulties of what they are asking of us and all of the responsibilities and difficulties that we need to prove to them that we can fly airplanes commercially safely. So that's the biggest hurdle that you have to get into this business.
My understanding is that you now own the airplanes. You don't rely on other airlines.
So we don't own the aircraft. That's part of what we would like to fund. We'd like to fund several airplanes. We don't own them. Previously, we chartered them with another company that does have a certificate and does fly under the FAA, of course. But it's too expensive. We have to have our own aircraft, and we have to be in control of our own aircraft. Now, these are not $35 million Airbuses, so don't think that they're that way. And also think of us not as an airline, because when people use the word airline, they're thinking of a human airline, with all the people coming and going and all, and an Airbus, $35 million for an Airbus. No, we are different. We're actually a cargo airline, okay, like UPS or DHL or like that. The difference is that we are transporting live animals, and we don't need $35 million Airbuses. What we need is smaller regional aircraft that are much less money and much more efficient in the cost of flying.
Again, going back to the fact that I'm just new pet owner. Describe to me, like, if I have a pet, like, what is the process? What do I need to do? And I want to fly from LA to New York. I want to fly my pet as well. How do I manage the fact that I need to fly and then also my pet? What is the process?
That's a really good question. And there's two parts to it. The first part is, how do we do this? So if you want to fly cross country or anywhere in the States, on our system, you would go to PetAirways.com, and there would be a reservations block in there, and you would put in the dates that you want to fly. And you would be presented with some different dates on which we're flying from the city to city. You would pick one of those dates, and you would just continue through the process of booking a reservation. It's a little more complicated than a human reservation, because now we want to know your pet's name, your pet's history, the age, the breed, his health, who the vet is, who's responsible for it, as I mentioned earlier. So it's a little more complicated as far as filling out information, but it's very easy to do. So once we have a reservation, you just show up with your pet at our pet lounge. So at the airport, you're not going to a cargo department. You're not going to the passenger terminal. You're going to a Pet Airways facility at the airport, where all we do is check in pets. You walk into the lounge, just like in a small airport. You walk into the lounge with your pet. We ask you who you are. We check all the forms, and then we take the pet and put him in the back holding area, ready for the flight. The plane is usually either there or coming very shortly. So we ask you to come about 2 hours beforehand to make sure we get all that done. Then when the plane arrives, you can leave at that point. You don't have to stay. Then when the pet, but it's so funny because pet parents, they want to watch their pets go up on the plane. It's absolutely hilarious. It's like children. Anyway, so we hand carry the pets onto the plane. We secure them in the plane. And then as soon as possible, we close the door and we take off. We fly to different cities, and at different cities, we'll drop the pets off, and the reverse happens. The pet comes off the plane. Now we have to decide who gets the pet. And in the process, you'll tell us who's responsible. So here comes the other part. Let's say you're flying from New York to LA. Our planes don't fly at the speed of jets. So you can drop off your pet, let's say at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you have time to get to the airport and take your UAL or United Airlines flight, 5 hours across country. But we're not going to be in Los Angeles until probably the next day. our planes fly slower, and we also have to take the pets out for a walk somewhere so they can go to the bathroom and they can be fed. So what we do is we have an overnight somewhere in the middle of the country, and by this time you've already landed in LA. You can have be in your hotel or have dinner, and the next day when everything's settled, you can come and pick up your pet. So it works very well that we are flying slower and you are flying faster. Now, if you are not going, you can say, let my sister, here's her name, here's who she is, she can pick up the pet. And then we'll ask for identification on the other side to make sure that she's authorized to pick up your pet.
Okay, yeah, I mean, sounds really easy and reasonable process. There is nothing, I was more worried about how am I going to handle the fact that, I fly and the pet flies next to me in the next aircraft, and then I have to go to the next airport, and how do I receive my pet? But if you're flying slower with a different airplane that actually is advantage in this case, that the pet is not going to be arriving almost at the same time or leaving at the same time as I do, right?
Right. It cuts your stress out completely because you've dropped your pet off calmly. You have plenty of time to book your flight, based upon when you're dropping your pet off. So maybe 2 hours, 3 hours from now. And then you're flying. There's no question where your pet is. Your pet is being handled by pet professionals, people who love your pet, will take care of your pet, whose priority is your pet. Okay, you don't have to worry about a thing. And then you get to LA and all the hassles of LA. You go through all that. No stress to find your pet because your pet is still with us. So, and when you've had dinner or whatever, the next day, you just take another little trip to the airport and your pet is going to be waiting for you.
And pets receive drinks and food during the flight, all that stuff.
And that's the hard part of this, is because we don't like to have pets fly more than 8 hours without going to the bathroom. So we stop along the way. We have it very worked out, the schedule, so that the pet can go to the bathroom in the amount of time that we feel that the pet should go to the bathroom. And we've been very good at that. We've had much experience with that, and very few pets have accidents. But they're very happy. They get out, they get a walk, they get a drink, they meet their friends a little bit there on the plane. It's lovely. It's actually very lovely.
So I need to ask you this, Dan. How do you plan to scale? Because you have to cover a lot of city. The United States is a huge country. It's across the continent, and you have to cover a lot of routes, and how do you plan to scale?
So that's really an incredible question that took a lot of effort to figure out how to do. And at the end of the day, if I pare it down, I will tell you that there are 20 cities in the United States that need to be covered. We need to have an airport at 20 different cities. If you think about Los Angeles, for example, the question is, how far will somebody drive to drop off their pet, okay, in a comfortable distance to an airport? So my calculation is that 2 hours, you will drive 2 hours to put your pet on Pet Airways. So if you draw a circle around every large city, that's a 2-hour driving distance, all of a sudden you'll see that you have covered probably 85% of the United States. So the magic number is about 20 cities. With that, we'll cover 85% of the country. Now, having said that, you should know that we had people that would drive from San Francisco to Los Angeles to drop off their pets on Pet Airways. And that's a 6-hour drive. But they did it because they wanted their pets to fly on Pet Airways. But our goal is to minimize that and have you only drive 2 hours maximum to an airport. And with that, again, as I said, we can cover 85% of the land mass of the United States.
That sounds good, right? How about, I wouldn't say international, but how about covering the North America, South America, maybe?
So we've gotten a lot of requests from South America, And to go to South America is really not a problem because, you have land mass between, let's say, Argentina and Florida. You have a lot of land mass. So we can hopscotch across South America. That's not a problem. The big question is going across the pond to England and France. Once you get there, you now need a much, much larger plane with much more capabilities, jet potential to get across. Now, one of the ideas that we have, and there is a large demand for across the pond travel, would be to set up with maybe some other carrier who can provide the jet service, and maybe do a once a month type of trip. We'd have a lot more pets in there. It would be more of like a chartered flight type of thing, but it's doable. But right now, what we want to do is we want to cover the United States. There's a tremendous amount of business in the United States. We estimate that there's a market of about 31 million pets that want to fly across the United States. If we capture only 5% of that market, we have $1 billion company. So, let's take care of America first. South America would probably come second, and then across the pond would be intermittent in the future.
Yeah, my question was more about, say, Canada, United States, Mexico, and mostly about regulations and things that may rise if you want to fly pets between countries. But I completely agree with you that United States is probably big enough market for you to focus on.
Yeah, there isn't a problem flying pets to different countries as long as you have the medical certifications that the countries require. The rabies, distemper, those type of things. It's really not a huge problem because most countries in this area of the world accept pets from the other countries.
Okay, so my next question would be, let's talk a little bit about your revenue model, your business model, and then if you can touch on go-to-market strategy for your new company, that would be very interesting to hear.
So the revenue model is very simple. It's sort of just like the airlines. You make reservations. And certain number of days after you've made the reservations, you fly your pet. So what's one of the things we learned is that price is not an issue. We had people who were on the lower socioeconomic scale who are still flying their pets because the alternative is they have to drive across country, which is a lot of hassle and probably just as much money. And people love their pets; they'll do anything for their pets. So the revenue model really is, pay now, fly later. So there's never any receivables. You really have all the money in the bank ahead of time. So that's a really lovely position to be in if you're a company. So that's really. I don't know how else to describe the revenue model, but that's basically it. The business model is build this airline and then tie in other pet products on top of that. I mean, once you are established as the voice of pets in the country, which we were actually, it was quite funny. Even with the small time that we were flying, I would bump into people because I would be wearing my Pet Airways T-shirt in the airlines or in different places, and people all over the place would recognize us. We actually had quite a bit of a brand recognition with Pet Airways. So it was quite amazing. But so with that comes being able to have a food company and pet products and ancillary ties in either through strategic partnerships with companies or our own services, products, etc.
Yeah. Will my pet, if I use your airways, will my pet accumulate air points?
You know, we laughed about that for such a long time, and the answer is yes. We actually created a frequent flyer pet program early on. We had several pets that were flying back and forth. We had, believe it or not, a couple of divorcee situations where the one pet parent was living in, I think it was San Diego, and one was living in Denver. And so every 2 weeks, the pet was with us, and the pet was flying back and forth. So that pet actually accumulated some free mileage on us. So yeah, that was a pretty funny moment.
Yeah. So let's talk about investment. How much are you seeking for right now, and what is your offer to potential investors?
So this time we're looking for around $5 million, and we feel that's more than enough to get us 2 or 3 aircraft that we need, and all the infrastructure that we need in place to actually launch the reservation system, if you will. You know, when we launch, I say, you know, that launch is like open up the marketing, not launch like flying. You know, that would be the first flight. So we're looking for a $5 million investment at this time. And I'm sorry, I forgot your second question.
And what is your offering to potential investors?
So, you know, we're very open, to be quite honest with you. I do have a private placement memorandum that I've been circulating, but, you know, different investors need different investment vehicles. So, you know, I'm an entrepreneur. My concept is, tell me what makes you happy, you know, and if we can accommodate you and we can create the vehicle that's good for you, and we can agree on a return or a share level or whatever you want to call it, I'm open to suggestions. You know, there's nothing written in stone here. We are not a huge company. We're just looking for good investors, people that understand the pet business, that love pets, and see a future in our business.
Okay. Well, Dan, I must say that this was really enjoyable conversation with you, and I really like what you do. Maybe because I'm new pet owner, I don't know, but frankly, I see the need for your services, and this is not a solution looking for a problem. Definitely, there is a problem that you're trying to solve, which is a really good thing. Really good thing. I want to thank you again and ask you to share with us any funny story before we finish our conversation.
Well, besides the frequent flyer story, which I had totally forgotten about, the one story that we always told people is that somebody brought their pet onto the plane, and they were sending it to their I think their sister or something in Chicago. And when the pet got off the plane, the pet only had 3 legs. And so the person didn't know what the pet looks like that they were expecting. And she was like, only 3 legs. And our pet attendant immediately says, sometimes things move in flight. You know, like when they tell you about the luggage, not to open it. And there was a 3-legged dog. What happened actually was the dog that she was waiting for actually had 4 legs, but there was a dog that looked just like the other dog, and she thought it was that dog. And so it was just a hilarious moment that our pet attendant immediately said, you know, things move in flight, you know. So everybody in the lounge just sort of collapsed in laughter.
Yeah, this is so funny. I'll remember that, and I'll use it with my friends.
Yeah, you know, it's actually interesting. There are a lot of dogs that only have 3 legs. Believe it or not, I was quite surprised. I don't know what a deal is, but there are a lot of I don't want to call them handicapped, but three-legged dogs. But that was a very funny moment because nobody really knew, you know, because we didn't realize that there was a second dog on board that looked the same. It was like, what's going on here? It was quite a funny moment.
Yeah, I can only imagine how you felt about that. So Dan, thank you very much again. I would like to do another conversation, another interview with you in, let's say, 6 months, because I want to keep us talking, and I want to see how you develop. I'm sure you will find investors, and I want to have this company, you as a founder, to kind of show and work with the community of startup founders here in LA, and kind of have a success story to talk about.
Great. Yes, we would, our goal is to do something good for the pet community. It's one thing to make money, but there are so many pets that suffer and need an alternative to flying in cargo. And the pet parents need a solution, and we can provide that solution. So we're very excited about doing this for the public.
Thank you. Thank you very much again.
You're welcome. Thank you, Nick.